we've got construction sequential poses. So essentially what we're going to do now is expand on the bean. And hopefully, yeah, if you did put a question in the chat, I know Eden will help me with that because I'm not looking at there.
Yeah, everybody, everything's good right now. I was letting everybody know that I'm giving feedback at the moment, a little bit behind because I've been a little sick.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So the bean and the, yeah, we're going to go with a really basic gesture here, the most simple. So there really isn't a bean. I'll admit that here. This is the one pose where there isn't one, but I'm just going to use it to take our character to just the next level, which we talked about a little bit. And essentially, I think all we left off were like some arms and legs. Okay, so what can we learn out of it? What can we get from this? Here's a few big places. I think we'll make it easy. Actually, the neck is huge, so we already covered it. That's awesome. This idea that it comes forward a little bit so that there's a from the front, there's an overlap there. Let's move in. We can always get our faithful profile here. To remind us about that spine. That intrinsic dynamics in the figure. Okay, so that kind of coming forward, that's always good. And so that jaw, you know, sometimes that jaw passing in front. It's not always so high, just something to consider. We don't have to get too complicated with these. I don't think I'm trying to keep them as basic as possible, which is a good thing. We can get into like heavy duty why it is the way it is. Yeah, okay, I might touch on it a little bit. But okay, that's what I'll do. Essentially, what I would just think about these as shoulder pads. These shoulders coming out for the upper arm, just a cylinder. For the forearm, I would do a joust. Essentially, this triangular cylinder that transfers probably, you know, basically. Remember our forms that we were talking about last week, where we go from round to square. That would be one with this forearm. We'll expand on that. Okay, let's take this arm apart for a second. And we're going to use a dynamic little person called the triangle man, or woman, triangle person. And this is a shape design. to show that except literally the upper arm is like the only place that I don't like to have a tapering cylinder. Something that is tapering means it's getting narrower as we're going down, right? Narrower as we go along its length. And you can see how diagonals and tapering is going to be so much more dynamic than something that is rectangular, right? So if you think about your figure like this, sometimes we can get a lot more character into these shapes. So that is what I did with this forearm. I kind of come off, let's say, of this shape for the shoulder, and then I do this kind of, it's almost like a big glove. And I think it's helpful to think about this turning from something round. This is going to be depending on, of course, on how involved your piece is going, but into something rectangular. And even if you are a more simple draftsman, this is still really good stuff to practice. Right. So like Larissa was showing last week, we're basically taking a cylindrical shape and positioning it to a rectangular or more structural shape. Combined forms, that was the word I'm looking for. And this really helps you get a sense of, and check out this is so cool. I mean, get a sense of how your hand, if we were going to use the hand, connects, right? So now you have a space where, the hand is just a rectangle. You really know how it can work. So let's say for this forearm, if it was that, we know the hand is coming forward, but it doesn't have to be that. What if it was like that? That means the hand in other words, could be going like this. And so you can have, give you some sense of how that goes. Here's a hand, very, very fast. And if I knew where I learned this, I would tell you. I can't remember, but it's helped me out so much. It's so easy, I think. Hand, mass. So we just keep with that. Wrist, we do a ball of the thumb, and little banana, or whatever it is. Shape, and it just arcs out like that. And then a mitt. That's it. Of course, our hand, closes together, thumb to pinky. you know, it not only just closes down and up, it kind of can grip like that. So you can imagine we'd have a palm line. That's going to be how your palms kind of fold together, right? It folds in like a line like that. But this, I think, helps me so much in everything. So let's just put a few applications. With the thumbs on this side, let's do that ball, and just out like that, either the mitt, or because our hand grips like this, we can always assume that the index finger is kind of out first and everything else kind of closing down if you want some finger expressions. But or if you, the thumb of course is going to be on the other side. In this case, you might not even really see it. But you can see how I've, probably as I continue doing stuff, you'll just see me do that little ball and little banana thing. And but yeah, I think it's quite helpful. Even if we think of the banana doing a few different things than just sticking out. Yeah. Okay, so next will be the legs. I think it's important to note structurally with the pelvis that the legs in the great trochanter, right, come off. They insert, right? The femur has this more like this shape. Okay, we learned last week that that was kind of the halfway point, and this gives you a lot of places to attach some musculature. But anyway, this is like a ball and socket joint. This ball is going to fit into this socket of the pelvis. Why that matters to me is essentially how we draw the legs and how we consider them attaching to the figure. Although we can be creative with our characters, typically it's good to know that your legs come from either side of the pelvis rather than from the middle, which sometimes I see done, or in that the pelvis has space. So what I sometimes see done, even though this is quite funny, and I wouldn't mind a little cartoon character that looks like this. Or even maybe more problematic, because this character does have a pelvis that the legs come off of. Sometimes I've seen that we get to a figure and we have a rib cage and everything, and then we get to legs. And we just come up to this like point, and this doesn't leave you enough sense of the fact that we have a pelvis, right? and the legs coming off of the side. So I guess the easiest way also to think about this is the clothes we wear. So when we get down to the bottom of the bean, pelvis, we wear underwear. The shape of underwear, we all know that. It's like this, right? And so if you ever like look at a maybe a toy, I think a great solution to this is the cylinder coming at it from the side. So basically take your tapering cylinder that's wide at the top, tapers, just consider it rotating at this kind of angle here, right? From the side, rather than, of course, just moving off from the middle, right? It's kind of, yeah, looks like a robot, which is an android or something. Now, I personally like a rectangle here. Some people put a little ball. It's fine. And then I go into a another tapering cylinder. Now you can see with all this nuance, with all these, I'll draw back in a second and make it a little bit easier. A big perspective. This is just a fast jump, believe it or not, into complicated positioning of shapes in drawing. But you can see that as we focus on these details, how stiff our figures can get, and how much you could potentially lose the dynamics of your figure when you're worrying about how exactly it should work. So we'll step back in a second. The last thing I just want to share on it's typical, and so we went over these triangles, but just a little deep dive into this ankle if you want to. It might help, not that you draw ankles all that often, but just to understand the way that the foot joint will work, and a good expression for how feet are, I think, a lot of times very difficult because essentially they are always foreshortened. They're always coming at us. So good deep dive or a way of representing this foot, I think, is this as we come down from the lower leg, depending on which way it's facing, you can give this joint, this pin joint.
Hey, Danny.
Yes.
Can you please explain what foreshortening is?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Let's actually, essentially, what all these, okay, so these are a bunch of really complicated shapes and interesting mechanical drawing exercises. Why these are helpful, and you will work it out for yourself. But the main reason that I can tell is for this. It helps you start to solve the issues of foreshortening and perspective. Foreshortening is simply what happens when something turns basically in perspective. Okay, so essentially we have this tube, and I guess who knows where the word comes from. It as it maybe comes to the foreground, turns up, this length, shortens, right? Except because of perspective, and perspective one of the rules of perspective being that like shapes will become smaller in the distance and recede towards a vanishing point. So that's two of the rules in play here. We still accept that it is possible that this tube, which is this long, can be that same tube, which on our picture we've only shown is like half the length, right? So it's shortened. And yet with that foreshortening, we can accept. So in other words, like it can be very confusing. We see somebody's leg. Okay, well, that's kind of looks like a leg. And that was really easy to do. We've seen legs, and we know about all these, you know, the thigh and the knee and the calf and all these things. So that's not so bad. We had the space to put them in. But what happens when this leg is now coming straight at us and it have all those things? This is a foreshortening of that length, and I've got to put all these wonderful things on it. This presents a kind of complicated problem. And we're really used to, we often will just try and fit, you know, lengthen this space so that I can fit it all in, but I can't. I know it has to compress to be coming out this way. So this would be an example of foreshortening, of how I made that leg now come straight out at us. And that's not easy to do at all, unless we understand the concept of this being, all of it being cylinders and overlapping shapes. And then I had to take this shape and bring it forward, and actually forward and towards us, which, you know, as you can imagine, as this one coming forward, you see how that also that we start to expose a little bit more of that, until if it were to, you know, then come straight at us. Let's see, this should always make that should match us here. There we go. You know, we as more and more, until obviously you could just have it a circle, but I saw one of the homework somebody was really good at doing. They not only just they kind of pushed the camera angle and had some really extreme dynamic foreshortening, which was amazing, and it was really neat. Great for like splash art and things like that, or, you know, comics too, but where they were like
we're talking a little bit in the chat about, just foreshortening and perspective. And I will say that is something I know Larissa's going to either have a workshop or another class about perspective in general. And that's something we would go over a lot, because foreshortening, because it's a part of perspective, can be very complicated, and it can work both ways, coming towards us and going away from us, how our eye is perceiving something in space, either getting smaller or larger.
Yeah. And, that's obviously really helpful. I think that class would be good for placing things in an environment too. As right now we're really just talking about the figure, but we got to put it somewhere eventually.
Yeah, which, for the people who went above and beyond and did some perspective, that's great, but definitely don't feel pressure when just coming up with like poses to make these like crazy foreshortened dynamic poses. But Danny kind of drew those grids up there before, but that can really help you with foreshortening, finding those like kind of block grids. And if you're using some kind of program like Procreate or Photoshop, and I'm pretty sure all drawing programs have perspective guides on them now. Finding your oh gosh, what is it called? Your vanishing point. Geez, finding your vanishing point can really inform you on how to foreshorten better within those gridded guidelines.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Finding your space.
I'll see if I can find maybe a good reference online for maybe a crash course in foreshortening, since that's something we're not going to go over in depth in this class.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's there's some things that probably, well, yeah, that's foreshortening is just, let's say this is the hard thing about it, is that things, and that's why I was saying like the feet, right, can be hard. They're always sticking out towards you. There's some things that shouldn't be foreshortened very much. I could look at a hand, but there are some things that you can draw because maybe a photo reads and shows you, but it doesn't look good if you do it. Like some things just shouldn't be foreshortened that much. Like drawing can, I don't know, if you drew a hand, coming straight at you like this, it just doesn't make sense. That'd be like fingertips, because you don't see any of the other finger. But I hope that makes a little bit of sense what that foreshortening is and how it works. You'll see it in play in a few other slides here. So we'll take, let me say this, with the foreshortening, and I'll point it out essentially. With the foreshortening, you can see what's happening here. And I want to introduce another term if I think I use it, but if I didn't explain it, the cross contour. Maybe I did, but anyway, that's just an imaginary line that shows, to me, not really the turn of the, we know we're using a cylinder. So for me, what it's showing is how much that cylinder is changing. So, or is in perspective, is going into a depth, back into space. So here, the cross contours, they just kind of show me a certain, roundness, but this shape is not turned towards me very much. Sorry. Okay. Photoshop might have just slowed down on me. Okay. There we go. That's hard. But these cross contours, I use them to show that how much something is going in space. So essentially the foreshortening of it. So these arms would continually, see this would be kind of straight. And here we get real curved. Here I made it look rather flat, and I shouldn't have, But now it would be really boom, and then this should be boom. Okay. So let's play with that a little bit. And this was something in a reference I saw. And here you can see some nice examples of using shapes and playing with shapes. Okay, so we have, it's got some similar ideas, but we're changing the shapes sometimes. So let's say we have, and I have somebody, they're going to be pulling a rope back, right? But with both hands. So let's get that there. And the reason I say that, I want you to know how I'm thinking about this. So we're leaning over. So obviously we always have to have a gesture. But who this person is could be anyone. And so that's going to be how we start to mess around with our shapes. But yeah, I could have a huge, I think this is done often, but like huge body shape up here, kind of like the two characters I am looking at in the example. We can have, don't have to have these, we could have short legs. So I'll shorten them up just for fun. So anytime, just think of for foreshortening, anytime something is not going to be straight, straight on, it'll be shorter. Anytime you tilt it towards you just a little bit, it's going to start that perspective idea of it vanishing into space. So maybe this is actually a really good, illustration of that. That's the same cylinder rotating. I can just imagine it essentially just spinning, right, on an axis, essentially. So anyway, okay, so where is it? Where are we now? This guy? We're putting a lot together at once, I'm aware, but that's good. I think we can. See how these cross contours and shapes go in space, how we're using some simple shapes but they piece together well, and that's important, I think. They have specific places where they attach, and everything has its own ability to show, how it works. One of the things I do like, I just was thinking about some of the homework I saw, and with the triangle man or the triangle figure going like this, and then maybe even inserting into some spheres like this, and all these wonderful dynamics of construction. Is it avoids a common design issue that I did see a few times, so I'll just address it. And that is this feeling for the limb. So the problem here is the symmetry of it all. And sometimes, and I know actually that the tapering cylinder is symmetrical too, but at least the top is wider than the bottom. We don't get this kind of sock doll similarity with the legs. And then this also, has the potential to have just the legs attaching at random to the pelvis, where we know we kind of want to attach, like underwear, right? Okay, so let's take, I guess we can take this same pose, but yeah, avoid this. This is the, these are volumetric shapes. Yes, they are, but they're not as dynamic as the tapering cylinder. And yeah, so like, this is, I don't like this joint. It doesn't tell me much, whereas it doesn't tell me what's in front. You know, here now I know something's going on. This makes more sense. Or whatever. I'd avoid this design technique. Okay, let's take this same character. Bring this, look, we'll bring the shoulders way closer together. There we go. I'm getting a very Mrs. Incredible vibe here. But there we go. Okay, that's just looking odd. Oh, I know. But playing with different shapes is great. But you can see essentially as we play with them, you're just changing their proportions, but not the way that they work or attach. Maybe I would change this person's pose though. Tilt the head back, that looks casual. I'd have to, yeah, we'll keep it forward. Okay, so just experiment with your, and probably, now that I think about it, you know, simply just, right, like a character lineup, you can just decide if my character is going to be this shape, this shape, you know, or this shape. And then you put them, you can put them in action. Let's see, I'll probably do something like this for this guy. There we go. All right. Yeah, and actually it seems so incredible. This shape to me, it seems so weird. And then now that we fill it out, it's actually like, I could definitely see somebody walking down the street that's kind of these proportions. Yeah, people have so much variety. It's awesome. Okay. So this is touching a little bit. I want to keep moving us on. And last week we were, I'm going to push it. Actually, let's move this to the next level. Okay. Head and expression. Quite a lot of things. The reason is because I'm trying to prepare us for the homework. And I know I've thrown a ton in here. Oops. But yeah. Real basic with the head and the expression. The way I simplify it, and you'll see me do it, but if I could touch on it a little bit beforehand. We have, like I mentioned before, that really simple, almost, I would say, let's just take an olive shape. That's, I think, what I generally will come out of. And there's only a few ways that your head technically turns, and then it turns into some very varying degrees of it. Yeah. Head up. Looking down to the side. So it's either looking down to the side or it's looking up, I guess. Yeah, so it's either looking up that way. You know, this is the same thing I just drew, just the other way. Or that way. Up to the left, up to the right. Down to the left, down to the right. That's probably it. Here's how you show that so well. In my perspective. There we go. That's a better box. Yeah, I think that's it. You know, or of course, just the ordinary one way or the other. So the way why this curve works so well is, as you can see, if we with this rectangle, that there's kind of a plane to the head, okay? And so here's why I depicted both these things, is because the angle of the brow and mouth, eyes, all symmetrical, and then they are at an angle, this face plane, to, let's say, something like the ear or the jaw. Okay, so you can get the idea that there's a little bit of a plane change. So now that we're looking up, down, so you could think of it like this. I'll explain it in a couple ways. Think of it like glasses. Okay, if your character had glasses on, you know, glasses, right? Clothes always tell us how our face, figure works. But glasses, right, they come across and then they turn a right degree angle and go across that plane. Anatomically, we always say, and doesn't this make perfect sense? The eyes are right the center of the face, but the eyebrows are the top of the ear and the nose. If you just draw a line across, if you just draw a line across your nose, you straight across, you get to the bottom of your ear. And same with your brow, just go eyebrow, or obviously I'm easy because I've got glasses on. Top of the ear. Okay, perfect. So that makes sense. But yeah, so like that's why I've drawn this ear sometimes. It's not because I'm drawing ears, but I'm just showing you how our person is positioned. So how does that come into play? Even this guy, check it out. This is fun. We can have this egg. I'll do this egg a couple. Oh my gosh, look at this egg. I'll do a couple weird things with it. If we say looking up, this one is pretty. I can be like this one. With the same, and then this, I'm just going to make it in line with that. But if I do this, you know, just changing that brow line can change you quite a lot. Obviously, I can turn the person this way. Let me see. Yeah. So anyway, just I feel like this can give a lot of structure to our little person real fast. So anytime we draw something, if we draw that center line, just thinking that this, yeah, it can go like this, you know, but really thinking how this is against that and it kind of cuts back, right? That's kind of where we're getting at. So the same one, looking down. And see, this line just arranges your eyes so that they will be in the right lineup of where your character is looking. Okay. I actually find in the shorthand of expressing things, characters and sketching poses, the face helps me so much. Here's my take, and that's why I'm going to spend a little bit more time. We might jump right into explaining the homework. But for the expression, I don't overcomplicate it. Sometimes an eyes can work, but if not, I always think expression, what's clear with expression, what makes sense, what is so simple yet people laugh, emojis. Just think about that. Don't try and get too much more complicated than an emoji.
I have a question in the chat. Danny, it says, you're using the direction of the shape to express emotion. What is the correlation between shape and expression?
You mean, okay, yeah, so,
I think the shape, you were just kind of showing it as where the planes of the face were, correct?
yeah, so maybe the question is not the shape but the pose and the emotion. I'm not sure. Because any shape can have any emotion. But if you pose the shapes, you know, you can express stronger drama, stronger emotion. So maybe the body language, how does that help the emotion? Maybe that's something we can think about. There's so much, you know, that can be fun with these, making this person smile, cute, or not so cute, big, really big. Really goofy. There's almost a story here. Someone sees something in, I don't know what it is, but I can see the series of expressions. Oh, this could be funny. Hold on. I don't know, but yeah, I was trying to figure out a good conclusion at the end. but you can see that just with a very simple head shape, there's a lot can be done with expression. So I touch on that briefly. Oh gosh. But wow, I think I know that you guys will you will touch on it more. But you know, a lot of this stuff just be continuing to kind of repeat or just build on. That's where we're going. Okay, so we're going to skip a little bit ahead. Okay. Okay, so here's this. I like to do something more like this. Now, these are really quick little sketches, but I include them because that's just fine. Essentially, what I was saying is we can learn the walking cycle. There's some principles to this that are great. Add some dynamism. But let's practice some things as well. I have this character, and this would be some ways that you can approach the homework assignment. And I have rather than this very boring figure, I don't know what I was trying to say here. But here we have a thief, let's say thief running away with the money. Let's just say running away. Well, how do they run away? And here's just some ways to think about it. There's not one way for everyone to run away. And so you have to tap into your imagination and you maybe have to explore a little bit. So one of the things I did was, it looks like I had them running kind of this way. Let's change that. Let's have them running this way. Again, that's a cross contour that shows that I'm coming forward. There we go. So now our thief is coming towards us, and maybe, even with just that real determined look. But the next thing I might think about is that bean. So let's just see. Let's play. Of course, before I even do that, I could just say, what's the line of actions? And so just with some lines, I can be like, okay, so that kind of told me I do think that my bean idea going this way is pretty good. Put some underwear on just to give me an idea. Okay, that's good. This leg is coming forward. The costume here, the hat even, let's say, or the belt, or let's even say the pants, or the stripes on the shirt. These are costume cross contours. They're so awesome to show us depth of these, give us that sense of volume. Okay, now I did do this guy's pretty good at running. He's not very awesome. It looks like he's in a maybe leaping over a hurdle. Let's see, that seems, let's see. And you can, hopefully you can also see it out and take a moment here that I take a lot of liberties with all the things that we thought like have to work out. Cross contours and perspective, I'm definitely taking advantage using those. But exactly how the body actually poses itself, how extreme the person can act or not, I don't. That I have fun with. That I can contort and make the body just like I would do the face. You know, if somebody looks like this, you know, with the mouse, no, but that expresses something to me. So same, you know, nobody's face looks like that. And so same with the with the poses. Now this guy, he looks like he's getting away pretty good. But the problem is he doesn't have very much money. So I need to add that into the story. This could be anybody running. That's a problem. Hold on, let's solve that. So here I've totally changed up my dynamic because I have got somebody now struggling, let's say. I've changed my shapes. That's a little bit awkward. So let me see. This is more of a funny character. And let's see. There we go. Not working. Okay, anyway. We needed some cross contour there to see how that arm, okay, this is great because here I have another issue. Like, how did that arm get, this guy's got quite this large body. I need to get that arm across. There, that can be good, and that gives it maybe a little bit of comedy, showing how cumbersome his figure may be for him to work with, including the bag. It makes just a bunch of awkwardness that can yeah, could be funny or sympathetic, or who knows. Yeah, so, okay, so but he's not, and then I look at this sketch and it's like really funny because there's money in his pants and he's dropping bags, and so this is maybe a nice sketch, but this is more funny to me. Okay, so as I got involved, this tells me as I got involved in the drawing, maybe I didn't pay attention to how much fun it could be, and that's why we make thumbnails. So now I might put my thinking cap on again, come up with another exaggeration of the action. Yeah, okay, I already did that one. Okay. Or even sometimes funny. No. So I just play with that line of action, essentially where that bean is twisted back or forward or back. It's just some things I think about. There's this, okay, so that means this hand is coming out, and it will be even. That's kind of funny. So I could have both these people working for me. Okay. So let's make a list of the things we've talked about. I know it's been a lot, but and then how I would incorporate that into our character. A list of things basically been a little bit of costume, not the costume per se, but a little bit of costume contour, cross contour. So using that, you can now create your character and make them do everything you want, but try and maintain what my goal is always also maintain the energy and not to get it lost in the details. Expression. Exaggeration. And of course, playing with your foreshortening, how extreme you're going to be or not. And playing with shapes. Shapes being in the context really of the character's proportions. Okay. So last homework, everyone got it. It seemed everyone did it right, so that's good. Okay, sorry about that. I did a little bit more clear. But anyway, a bunch of things. These are things you can think about. Proportions. Okay, I'll just have a hyphen. All right. So the homework this week is 8 and 8. An 8-panel comic / storyboard of your character crossing a river. That's it. So this would be 8 panels, and I have a character. I know I started last week with a cowgirl. That sounds good. I'll do that for me. My, first come with the character. My first. It could be anyone. Make it human though. Let's keep in human world. No animals or anything else. But it can be any type of human, young, old, at any time in history. That give you a good variety. But pick that first, write down who it is, and then you can think about how bold they are and how they might be crossing a river. And just think about, you don't have to draw the river. So let's do this really quickly. Hopefully I can do it to some degree. Off the top of my head, maybe I will. Cowgirl. Okay, so it can be, and this is how I'm going to incorporate a lot of the things, like getting into.
Danny, are
Yes.
mermaids off the table, or do you want 2-legged humans?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, I really like mermaids, so I don't want to take them off the table. But actually, as I think about it, no, you can't. Don't do them.
Oh, no mermaids. Okay.
I'm so sorry, because I would really like to see some mermaids crossing a river or doing anything. I'm a big fan of mermaids, but I'm just going to keep you with feet and legs because, boy, they're difficult. Sorry.
Do you want the panels to all be the same size? I'm guessing yes. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and basically I should say that that's why I said comic strip, or why I say comic instead of I should have said comic strip, because a comic, that's not comic book. That's not the case. So comic strip, storyboard, yes, panels. That's what I mean by that. Actually, I didn't even know that. That is what I was saying. So maybe I'll just start with my first here, and so I'm not going to go into all the bits about this cowgirl, because I just need the stuff that kind of helps me. So
and just some more questions
yeah.
Here. So are we drawing a person crossing a river, or can we pick our own situation?
Well, it's crossing a river yes, it's crossing a river.
Okay, so just do the crossing the river situation. And then can they do more than one character?
No.
Okay, one character.
Well, yeah, if you want to make another comic strip of somebody else crossing a river, You can make as many. Oh, and you want more characters helping this situation? That's okay. Yeah, make your comic strip. That's totally fine. If you want to have like a group of folks helping out. Um,
Okay. So all same size panels, no mermaids.
Must have
Can
legs.
have multiple
Yeah.
can have multiple characters, but they all need to be crossing the river.
Must cross a river. So, are we going to do, what if we do that, um, it can be anything that this person, maybe this person needs, there's so many things I can think of that would happen here that uh, um, I can see so many things happen. I was going to actually just, maybe she has to take her, some of her clothes off so that she doesn't get wet. This could be, you know, funny. Maybe she's afraid of the water. Maybe the river's super fast, or maybe she's very bold. Um, it could be anything. I mean, what if she goes, I'll just put two random examples. See that? See when I did that? It doesn't make any sense. But when I think of this, even though they're just two dots, right, then the person all makes sense. So your storytelling here, it could be any way we cross the river. See these little cross contour ideas, they just help me so much. So here, maybe we're checking, I don't know. Okay, so the hat is floats. And so next, we could be, okay. Yeah, we'll just do it here. And we could be, you know, let's say it was even something as silly as that. We're on our way, but we haven't made it yet. So a lot of things could happen, including that. Yeah. Or of course I had, sorry, real fast. Well, I won't do all the build up to it, and we'll just get straight to it. But you know, Cowgirl might have a rope handy. I've lassoed a branch on the far end of the river, and let's see, here we go. These flying across, you know, these are what intermediate steps you take, it doesn't matter. But these are just ways of using these things and to tell us a story that will be funny. I think that you let your imagination run to any extreme with, you know, maybe you cross the river with magic tricks. I don't know. Yeah. So even though that sounds really ordinary, you could make it really, really exciting, I think.